also a fun long one in terms of me setting it up for the viewers and watchers of this conversation. Again, Reimagine Public Safety, hosted by Imagine Black and produced by Labs. Let's get into question 4 a little bit. In a recent public meeting on violence prevention, the City of Portland evaluation specialist, Ryan, I'm gonna make sure I get this last name right, D'Ambrosio, let's see if I got it, I'm gonna check in with Ryan a little bit later, reported that the gun violence in Portland has dropped 22% since August of 2023. Ryan also highlighted that there is a 38% reduction in Black gun violence victims over the past year. The city is attributing that overall decline in shooting to the success of the gun violence prevention programs that received funding from both the city of Portland as well as statewide allocations from the federal pandemic grants. Let's talk a little bit about the group, the entity, Healing Hurt People, which is in partnership with POIC, Black-led nonprofit here in Portland, and the City Office of Violence Prevention. This great group, Healing Hurt People, they offer counseling and outreach to community members at risk of gun violence, as well as including folks who are victims. My question to you is, how will you prioritize the continued funding and success of community-centered programs that have proven to prevent crime?
Yeah, it's a very similar answer, just in brief, and I'll explain. It's a very similar answer to the last question. We know what works. We have data on it. We need to focus our dollars there. And in this particular case, it's focusing the funding on prevention. The best possible response after a crime is not going to be as good of an outcome as just not having that occur in the first place. I know Ryan D'Ambrosio. I work pretty closely in terms of physical distance from him, and we don't work on the same projects, but I do know him and I trust his analysis. Again, I'm not speaking on behalf of the city, but I think we've seen that not only the stats you mentioned, but there's an additional 7% decline in injuries and deaths related to firearms in the neighborhoods where they've been focus areas. So we have Office of Violence Prevention and the Safe Blocks program, which have priority neighborhoods they focus on. And in those neighborhoods, we've seen that additional decline, which is not huge, but it's statistically significant. And we've seen it, also ceasefire, I should bring that up as well. And we've seen that police staffing, by the way, is basically flat over that time period. And so having those results is good data to show what does work and what we need and what we don't need. And so we know prevention works, we know it yields results, and it's cheaper in terms of costs. And the costs means both human life as well as dollars. So yeah, we need to fully fund OVP, Office of Violence Prevention, Safe Blocks as well. Ceasefire has done a really great job of coordinating our existing programs, because part of it's not just about spending more money, it's about taking the programs we already have and making sure that everybody's working together really well. And every part of that process has been going, there have been hiccups along the way, but in terms of every player in it have been willing to work together, which has been really good to see for ceasefire. But in terms of Office of Violence Prevention and Safe Blocks, they have a fiscal cliff, which basically means they were getting a lot of funding from grants that were coming from the federal government during COVID. As those expired, we have seen that their budgets declined, even with a slight increase at times in the city funding because of how big of a chunk, it was well over half of their funding, was coming from federal grants that expired. And so that does mean we're gonna have to prioritize that in terms of city dollars to ensure that they have the funding they need to do their work. Healing Hurt People is a part of it. There's also the work that the trauma intervention team does, TIP. So, and a lot of contractors, community-based organizations that do really great work through that are funded by that. And so it's not just about city employees having a job, that's a part of it. It's about all these different community groups that do a really great job at helping make their neighborhoods more peaceful, safer, help talk to individual people and keep them from pulling a trigger. And so we can do a really good job of enabling that through this funding. And so it's just a question of prioritization and knowing where things are at. And again, if you're looking at budgeting not based on the bureau or the unit, but you're looking at what is the goal you're trying to achieve, and can you move that idea from one place to another, that will help to guide budget decisions and also will make things cheaper on the whole, or allow them to be scaled up with the same amount of money.
Thank you so much for that. At Imagine Black, we have some ideas of where some money can come from. What is it, the nearly 300 million police budget we have coming up? We'll put some links in the chat for folks who want to dive a little bit more deeper, but thank you so much.